loud for the returning champion, Mr. Scott Brown.
Yeah! Save money! No walking boot.
Back with a vengeance.
No walking boot is critical.
Back with a vengeance from Colorado. How was your vacation, my friend?
Oh, it was amazing.
It's good up there.
It's cool, man. Colorado's probably my second or third favorite state.
It's pretty
Super
badass.
cool.
I got a good friend. My closest friend, actually, is from Longmont. They spend a lot of time in the Denver area. So, when we go up there, we basically have a concierge that takes us around all the cool spots and, just going to Red Rocks and doing all the things around the ski areas. I was telling you before we went up, it was in the summer, but when you go to the Summit House there in Aspen, it's like winter up there. I mean, the top of the mountain does not know.
Yep.
And they're still skiing from the top of the mountain down to the middle of the mountain. But, man, they're up there partying like crazy.
Yeah, I'm past that age.
You can't drink more Baileys than those people were drinking at the top there.
No, I've I left that behind a few years ago, Jim. But,
very nice.
So a glass of wine's all I need.
Still like to ski, though, right?
I do love to ski.
Do you guys get a lot of that in, or is a lot of your trip up there just kind of chilling out, or is it? You don't feel like you have to push the skiing in because you're there a while.
That's what I've been trying to tell people is like when you go skiing for a week, like a lot of folks do, and you feel like if I don't ski every day all day, then I'm wasting my time, my money, et cetera. Whereas we were there for a month, and we skied on average, I would say 3 or 4 days a week.
That's still a lot, though.
Yeah. We're into it.
Same mountain?
Steamboat's big. It's a big mountain.
A lot of trails.
There's probably 25, 30 runs on that mountain alone.
I'm a blue trail kind of guy for you, brother. I love the blue trails, just kind of cruising down the mountain, enjoying the views.
Yep.
Don't need to go fast. Don't need to tempt my life.
No, you got to watch out for the 8-year-old snowboarders screaming by you. But other than that, it's humiliating. By the way,
By the way, that's what sticks are for. The sticks are not for balance. They are to stab 8-year-old snowboarders.
Yes. They're merciless.
All right, Scott, of course, from Edgewater Family Wealth, been doing it here in town 35 years or so, right?
That is correct. I'm actually starting year 37.
Good for you.
Wow.
Damn, really?
Oh, yeah.
Directing families here in Central Florida, trying to maintain their financial positions and create new ones, create that lasting wealth so you don't have to have worries when you reach into your 50s and 60s. You have a plan.
Yeah.
That's what you specialize in.
That's what I try to do. Yeah, that's the goal.
I think you've been doing it 35 years. You're pretty good at it. But,
you would think after 35 years I know a little something about it. Yeah.
All right, so let's get to it because I know that people really love the segment and they really love what you have to offer for knowledge. And I know that you have another seminar coming up soon, and we want to make sure that people understand about that because these could be life-changing events, could they not?
Yeah, we hope so. We hope, if at the very least, if you come out, you learn something you didn't know before. You probably had some insights you couldn't glean from Money Magazine or some other method. And so we're doing an event. It's at the Roost Chris in Winter Park. You can go on to EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. and register for the event. It's I believe it's February 21st at 11 a.m. So we have 2 experts speaking. One is a CFA, a money manager, myself, if I count as an expert, and then we have a Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security expert who speaks. And that's, Jim, that's one that people underestimate. If you're between the ages of 60 and 65, and you're coming up on that, how does Medicare work again kind of situation, or when should I take Social Security? The expert we have, his name's Greg Rossler. In fact, I'm having dinner with him tonight. He knows so much. He's been doing this for 28 years. He's one of the foremost authorities here in Central Florida. And I learned something. I've been doing this 37 years, as we just discussed. I learned something new every time about Medicare where I'm like, I didn't realize you could manage, because people think, you just sign up and it's over.
Right.
But no, there's 5 or 6 options, and there's a good way to do it and a bad way to do it. And hopefully on the 21st at Roost Chris at 11 a.m., we'll be able to provide some of that insight. More
information at EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com.
Yes, sir.
You get signed up there. Free?
Free.
Free, there you go.
Yeah, we even feed you.
We even feed you.
We're going to feed you.
Scott, how long does that last?
It's typically we go about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on questions. But yeah, it's between an hour or 2.
Cool.
The thing I think that, and we'll kind of get to this here in a second, I think one of the biggest misconceptions with managing money is you have to make giant moves all the time. I think you watch TV, you get caught up in movies, and you see financial managers always moving around. In reality, it's really the bulldozer effect that really makes it the best. You put it in first gear and slow, and you don't back out. You don't do anything different. You just stay there. And it's so unbelievable that's hard to let people understand that because they think you have to be wealthy to work with a money manager, when in reality, that's the idea of working with a money manager. Maybe not the wealthy idea, but the idea of using your money as a tool for you so you can set yourself up for a better life as you kind of age a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's about maximizing your situation. I mean, I know people, and as you do as well, as everybody in this room does, knows people who are exceedingly wealthy and are miserable, right? They live beyond their means. Maybe they make $500,000 a year or $800,000 a year, and they're still struggling, and they're unhappy people. Whereas I also know people who make $40,000 or $50,000 a year, and the happiest people I ever met, because they live. Wealth is they live within their means. Number one, but number two, wealth is. Being wealthy is freedom, right? Freedom to do what you want, when you want, with who you want.
The number one reason I wanted to make money in my life is so that no one can make decisions for me.
There you go.
That's the number one reason.
100%.
When I left Palatka, Florida, I said, I watched my family get their life dictated to them.
Yep.
And I promised myself I would never do that.
Yep.
I'm like, you're not going to dictate my life for me. I'm going to make the decisions where and what I do. And the only way to do that is to learn how to make money and then manage it properly so that you can set yourself up and you don't have to answer to as many people. And that's freedom in itself.
It is. It's free. Again, if you don't put yourself, I think your point's well made. If you put yourself in a position, it was awesome. I'm like inspired.
I felt like we were down 14 at half, and I was ready to come back.
Listen, when you come, a lot of people out there understand where I'm coming from. When you come from poverty, we weren't abject poverty. We had a place to live. We had AC in our house.
Sure.
But we also watched my parents struggle every single week to make those meet. And every single member of my family. And I promised myself as a kid who was born with a little bit of sense that I would never, ever, ever put myself or my family through the idea of living check to check. Now, and I've done that a lot of part of my life.
Me too, buddy.
But I learned how not to do it, and half the battle is just not being afraid to make a move or two. And people believe those things are insurmountable, Scott. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles that people face with wealth is they just aren't willing to take that first step.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people, unfortunately, media or people who claim to be experts put emphasis on the wrong thing. People think, well, the biggest decisions I can make financially are picking a stock or picking the right mutual fund or, the best bond or the right sector or the right crypto. None of that all pales in comparison to, here's the three big things. All right. And I'm going to credit a book I just read called, I think the name of the book is No Worries, Live a Stress-Free Life. And I'll think of the names of the guy here in a second. But the point of the book was that there are three big decisions you can make in life. Who you marry is number one, right? So when you pick a significant other, you need to make sure that person is on the same page, because if one of you is a spendthrift and the other one's a cheapskate, that is going to end. Are you the cheapskate or the spendthrift, Ross?
Hey, buddy, that's a coin flip.
Yeah,
I think his wife is pretty frugal.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I was saying that for
Jared Dillian, thank you. Yeah, I need to give Jared Dillian the credit for that. I promised him I would plug his book today. But it's a great point that I'm stealing from Jared, essentially, is that these three decisions, again, who you marry, where you live, and what you choose to do for a living. And now we can all agree teachers are underpaid, right? That's not something where anybody's debating.
Grossly underpaid.
Grossly underpaid. But if you're becoming a teacher today or you became a teacher, this isn't a new conversation, right? Teachers have always been underpaid, and we all agree they should get more. But we do know going in when we choose the occupation of being a teacher that we're going to be underpaid compared to a lot of people with similar education or similar circumstance. So when you become a teacher, you choose to do something meaningful, hopefully for our children and for our future and for our community, but the compensation isn't going to be such that you're going to probably get wealthy from doing that. So my point is, if you choose an occupation to be an English teacher or a history professor or an artist or something like that where the compensation isn't high, you need to make sure that you're providing in some other way, because you can't fix what you don't have if you don't have the revenue. So if you've chosen an occupation through education or for other reasons that doesn't provide a lot of income, you gotta factor that in. Where you live. If you live in New York or San Francisco versus Orlando, you're going to need to make 30 or 40% more money just to be able to save. And then again, going back to the original point, the third and most important decision you can make for your money is who you spend the rest of your life with.
Yeah, because you're right. If one of you is a spend crazy maniac and the other one is thrifty, is frugal, that's going to be a weird thing.
Yeah, it's going to be a source of conflict constantly.
Yeah,
if you're arguing, one of you likes to buy nice clothes, and then you get home after having bought that nice pair of sneakers, Ross, and then your wife's looking at you, where did those come from? You spent $180 on the new Jordans,
They were LeBrons, and they were a rare Liverpool
exactly,
edition.
Exactly.
Get off my back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was a little too close to home.
And what made it worse, I'm kind of embarrassed by this, but they were British shoes, and I put the wrong shoe size in because I'm an American.
No.
So I have to wear 2 damn socks for them to fit.
That's so nice.
He has American feet.
Yeah. Big fat American feet.
Yankee feet.
Yankee feet. So he's, again, if your spouse is somebody who's a spender and you're not a spender, that is always going to be a source of conflict.
And really, to be honest with you, that needs to be handled. I mean, and I've been in a situation like that in my life where you have to just sit them down and go, hey, look, man, do we have the same goals?
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's basic to that is like, what do you think we should be doing at 65? Where do you want to be? I mean, where are we financially? And then kind of come to the conclusion that you both have to make some changes to make that happen. And, again, creating generational wealth isn't easy. And I think a lot of people believe you need to make a fast move or invest in crypto or your buddy told you about a hot tip on the market or whatever.
Right.
Slow and low, man. It's like cooking a brisket.
Yeah.
You just got to save and forget it's there. Yeah. And then couture your lifestyle to make sure that you never have to dip into that situation. And then next thing you know, you've saved money. You have a plan now.
Yeah,
it's just amazing how it happens.
Compounding is, as somebody once famously said, is the eighth wonder of the world, and people don't usually give that brisket, in your example, time to get tender. And so, I again, people overthink things. They think, well, if I can pick the right stock, or I can pick the right financial advisor, if I can pick the right bond or the right crypto or the right, and they spend an inordinate amount of time on this topic, these individual small choices. And the other mistake people make, and I'm not for being a spendthrift, so don't take this the wrong way, but if you choose not to have pizza one night and think that's going to make you wealthy, or clip a coupon and think that's going to make you wealthy, or think I'm going to make my own coffee instead of having Starbucks, that's going to make you wealthy. No, it's the bigger decisions. That buying too much house, that's a classic one, right? If you go to the bank and they say, well, on your income, you can afford an $800,000 house, and that takes you right up to your credit limit, and that means all of your discretionary income is going to the upkeep of that house and to make the mortgage, that means you can't save, right? What if you bought a $500,000 house?
Right.
And save that money, right? So that's a big decision that no amount of saving money on coffee or donuts is going to fix. So you need to make the better decisions at the big end.
Do you find that a lot of the financial issues that people have is just, this almost sounds stupid to say, but it's just self-regulation. It's the ability to just say no to yourself.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing I had to learn as I kind of moved toward getting myself set up where, I didn't have to worry about things when I'm 60, 62 years old. The number one thing is saying no to myself. And
yeah.
I found that increasingly difficult because I'd really spoiled myself into believing that, you should play golf 3 times a week. And you should have the best golf balls, and you should wear the nicest stuff, and you should have this. I mean, you've worked hard in your life.
Yep.
And you start kind of talking yourself into horrible decision-making, and it's just kind of funny how poisonous that can be.
In my experience, the harder I've worked in my life, those months where I've put in all those hours, I've done shows every weekend, I've picked up shifts, it's really hard to tell what I deserve and what I've earned.
That's a big distinction.
That
was profound.
And the harder you work, the thinner that line gets. Where you just worked 30 days in a row. You're right. You do deserve that, but reality sets in. Black and white numbers. Have you earned it?
Well, and I think again, what you're talking about is delaying gratification, right? And sometimes you can go too far with that, right? You can, you don't want to delay gratification until you're dead because that seems rather pointless. And that brings up another point. One of the things that I run into in my office not the most, but quite frequently, is people who won't spend money. Right. So what you're saying is you've delayed gratification until you're 65. You've saved. You've been responsible. And then it's hard to get them to shift. It's like they've got this big pot of money. And I'm like, go do something because the pot just keeps getting bigger. Right. So, again, it's about, and it's overstated, it's cliche, but it's about moderation. And the part about delayed gratification is once you learn that delaying gratification in and of itself is gratifying and you start to appreciate that about yourself.
I'm watching my daughter go through that right now.
Yeah, I think that's critical.
Daughter just got a great job, right? And she's actually has 2 jobs. From the job she had before, they kept her on to do a certain part of it, and then she's working full-time for another job, making more money than she ever has, and saving money. And the interesting thing is when you learn how to be proud of it, and I watch her be proud of it.
Yep.
She told me what her balance was in her savings account the other day, and I was glowing, and the appreciation and the response she got from me because she had saved some money on her own was one of those things where you get addicted to it. You once you realize you can do it, and once you realize you can cut back on that thing that gets a couple of $100 extra in your savings account a month, you become a little addicted to it. Like
you do.
You want to save, and then you want to challenge yourself. Do I want to save $1,000 a month? Do I want to, hey, by March, I want to have, $3,000 in the bank.
Yep.
By June, I'd like to have this. Not to spend it on something, not to go out and buy something, but to have. And then maybe invest later down the road, but create a nest egg. And it just takes a little discipline, and people have a hard time doing that sometimes, Scott.
Well, again, it goes back to gratification. What you're describing is she has shifted from delayed gratification to changing what the gratification is.
Yep.
The gratification comes from the delay in the discipline, and she's starting to get addicted to that feeling of success. And again, ultimately, we don't want to overdo anything. What's the Ross will tell me? What's it? The FIRE move where you save money for 15 years and when you're 35 you retire or something like that. So what I'm getting from that, Ross, is you deprave yourself for the first 15 years of your life so you can deprave yourself for the rest of your life. I'm not sure that's a good idea either, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, you want to moderate things. You want to be thoughtful. Listen, this isn't rocket science. We all get it.
People overcomplicate this stuff, don't they?
Well, they overcomplicate it because it makes it so they don't have to do it, right? If it's complicated, then I can't do it.
I don't understand it.
I don't get it.
Feels like a scam.
Saving? What is this about? I don't care for it. I don't trust it.
Hey, we only have a few seconds here because we're on against the clock, but I did want to get to the second point that you have because I'm interested in what it means. You cannot become wealthy on the expense side of the ledger. What do you mean by that?
Well, going back to what I said earlier is people, and again, I'm not advocating to be a spendthrift or be careless, but what I am saying is the big decisions matter. A lot of people shop with the intent of saving, if that makes sense, right? If I clip coupons, I'll be wealthy someday. If I go to the sale rack at Marshall's or wherever it is, I'll be wealthy someday. If I only eat pizza on Friday and not Saturday, listen, that's helpful, but it's not the big difference. The big difference maker is the house and the spouse and the way you behave in the big things, where you live, what job you have. And, I looked online before I came in. The average Uber driver makes like $20 to $25 per hour. What if you didn't watch CSI Minnesota or whatever the 19th different CSI there was and spend that 2 or 3 hours driving an Uber? That's $60 a day. That's $400 and some odd dollars a week you could save to get you to where you want to go. So ultimately, it's about the big things. It's not always about the little things.
What's helped me out spend less money was working more. Because if you're at a job, you're not at a mall.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That was my theory back in the day, buddy.
Agreed.
When I was working like literally 18 hours a day, I was like, hey, well, I can't spend money while I'm doing this.
It's hard to do.
We can only get out of this hole. Okay, another seminar coming up here in just a couple of weeks. So
Yep.
I want everybody to know about it so they can make plans to come out and learn how to get themselves in a much better position in life. And look, when you guys hear me talk about money, and I'm talking to the audience now, it's not about being stinky wealthy or anything like that. I drive a pickup truck with no tailgate. An old pickup truck. It's not about that. It's about making yourself comfortable so you don't have that looming thing in the back of your head about where's this money coming from? What if something happens to one of the kids? This is planning for your life. This isn't buying Lambos, man. We're just trying to make life comfortable so you don't have any big surprises.
Yeah, no Lambos, Ross.
But a Honda Accord hybrid.
Yeah, those are nice.
Maybe
those
that
are
did
nice.
happen.
That'll work. So ultimately, we're having an event. Let's see, that is February the 21st at 11 a.m. at the Ruth Chris in Winter Park. You can go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com and you can register for that event. And you can also download my book and our advisor guide should you choose to do that.
And not only is it free, I know you guys give out a little lunch as well, right?
We're going to feed you.
All right, so you get there, get some good information. You'll be speaking.
I will.
Somebody else will be speaking as well?
Yeah, we got 2 or 3. We have a Medicare Social Security expert named Greg Rossler with us, and our CFA Tammy Hassenbeck will be also speaking about stocks and bonds and things of that nature.
Let's go. Let's get smart.
Right, EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. Hop on board, register, get set up, go there, and start your life. I mean, you could do it. I mean, honestly, in just a couple weeks, your life could change. Couple decisions, simple stuff. This isn't going to break you in half, but you will become more disciplined and make your life better and less stressful, man. Really, in all reality, the only reason I ever wanted to make a little money in my life is to avoid the stress I saw on my parents' face every single effing day of their life. Every day.
Yep.
The burden of money, the burden of bills wore them down to a nub. And I told myself I would never do that. I would never allow that to have power over me like that. And that's what you have to do. You have to empower yourself and go and get with somebody who can really guide you in a way. Because if you're willing to work and make some money, there are people out there that are willing to show you what to do with it so that you can have a better lifestyle. It's that simple.
Again, not complex, just hard.
That's right. All right, there he is, Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth. Scott, always good seeing you.